Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Agile for Change Managers. My name is Tracy Holland and I run an organisation called Reforge Change, where we make change doable, not daunting. Let's get into it. What is Agile? Agile is a flexible, iterative approach to delivering work, and it prioritises customer collaboration, iterative delivery of value, and continuous feedback and improvement. Unlike traditional waterfall project management, Agile doesn't try to predict every step in advance. Instead, it welcomes change, adapts to it, and evolves over time. It's really more of a mindset, it's not a methodology. For example, imagine a training program. In a traditional model, you'd scope out the whole thing up front, deliver it all at once, and then get your feedback. In Agile, you might pilot one module, gather feedback from a small user group, adapt it, and then roll it out more broadly. Agile originally came from software development, but it's grown far beyond that. I've seen it working in HR, marketing, healthcare, banking, and in universities. It's about working in short cycles, getting value out quickly, and adjusting based on what you learn. Agile is like that umbrella term, and it covers a whole host of methodologies like Scrum, Kanban, Lean, SAFe, Crystal, DSDM, all sorts, each with different practices, but all sharing the same mindset. As I said, it's used widely across industries and sectors. So, for example, your tech giants like Google, IBM, Microsoft, finance like Barclays or HSBC, in healthcare, in government departments, and in universities. Just because Agile is used, it doesn't mean it's used well. Many organisations claim to be Agile, but they still follow traditional methods. Agile maturity differs greatly, even within the same organisation. So you might have a marketing team sprinting every 2 weeks and a change governance board stuck in 18-month planning cycles. I mentioned it before, but what is this Agile mindset? So the Agile Manifesto, which is a real thing, focuses on 4 key values, and that is individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software or outcomes over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan to the letter. So whilst Agile says there is value to those items on the right, we prioritise and value the items on the left more. For change managers, this means valuing conversations with people more than our detailed plans, our plans that we love. Getting something working for users fast rather than writing 40-page impact assessments. Partnering with stakeholders rather than pushing top-down change, and being ready to adjust tactics based on feedback rather than sticking to a rigid plan. So as I say, Agile doesn't say there's no value in processes or documentation, just that peoples and outcomes matter more. It's a mindset shift. We're not throwing away structure, we're prioritising flexibility, responsiveness, and user involvement. There are 12 Agile principles, and you'll be thrilled to hear I'm not going to run through them all today, but some of them are especially relevant to change managers. The first one is to deliver value frequently, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. In Agile, we welcome change, even late in the process. I used to hate late changes when I was a project manager in a traditional waterfall sense, because it felt such a task to have to reorganize my whole plans, but Agile really welcomes those changes. We build projects around motivated individuals and we give them the support that they need. We use face-to-face communication or real time where possible, and we reflect regularly and adjust our course. For example, a change team rolling out a new system could introduce retrospectives or reviews every 2 weeks. And that's not just to improve the product that we're delivering, but to check how well the change is landing with stakeholders and how we as a project team or a change team are working together. Think about your last change programme. Did it adjust after go live, or did it assume the rollout plan was perfect? Agile lets us learn as we go, involve users as collaborators, and refine based on actual behaviour. I think for change managers, the iterative delivery and working collaboratively can be quite a significant shift from what we do now. So we're not waiting until we've got everything perfect, until our plan's amazing, we know exactly what we're going to deliver when, we've identified all the component parts, and we've thought about all the risks and mitigations. Then handing over to developers or engineers and expecting them to come up with the solutions according to the requirements. It's really different in Agile. Let's have a look at how it differs, and let's look at iterative delivery in action. Iterative delivery means breaking work down into smaller chunks and delivering value continuously, not waiting until the end to see any benefits. So each delivery should have some value in and of itself. We call it, or we term it, shippable products in software development. That means that we can stop, pivot, or change at any time, and we will still realise some benefit from the work we've already done. It prevents what I call the sunk cost fallacy of continuing on with a project that's not going to deliver the benefits we expected because we've already committed so much time, effort, and resource to date. How often have you heard when talking about particularly large scale transformations, well, we might as well carry on because we've already spent X number of months, X number of years, or X number of pounds in order to get this far. Agile is a way to avoid that fallacy and avoid that pitfall. Why does it matter for change managers? Well, you can pilot and prove value without large-scale rollout. It lowers risk and it lets you change course early without that significant investment in time and resources. You can see barriers to adoption early, and you can adjust your approach as needed, and you build stakeholder confidence faster. That will continue to grow as you're iteratively delivering. As an example, you could try A/B testing, maybe on engagement emails, see which ones gain the most traction, and you'll know where to go when you deliver the next element or the future elements within the project that you're working on. You can trial a new system or feature with one department before full rollout. So you're basically learning with small amounts of effort in order to inform the next steps that you take. It can help you build an evidence bank. So using things like clicks, usage, error rate, speed to market, customer or user satisfaction. But don't just rely on queries. If nobody is using the thing you've delivered, nobody will be making any queries about it. So really think about what quantitative and qualitative measures you want to use. Iterative delivery doesn't mean you're never going to finish. It means you finish the bits with the most impact, test them, and then scale them. For example, you might want to test a self-service portal and launch it with just the top 3 FAQs first. Then you'll learn what else users want and you'll continue to develop that. There are some pitfalls though. Let's run through a few of those. Analysis paralysis. Teams over-test, over-pilot, and never actually hit the go-live button. You can avoid this by using time box experiments, defining what success looks like before you test it, assigning decision makers up front, and stop crowdsourcing indefinitely. Change fatigue, constant tweaks, updates, pilots. Users can feel like things are never settled. Try to group your changes into coherent cycles, communicate the why and the timeline clearly, and let things settle. Don't change for change's sake. Make sure whatever you release has an impact, but make it real. Tackle those pesky pain points that people have been asking to get resolved for ages. Nothing gets buy-in like ticking off the annoying things. Think about how you order the changes and releases to make sense to the users, not to the project. The MVP trap. Launching something light and never returning to it to improve it. Teams use workaround and the prototype becomes the norm. Treat MVP as a phase 1, not the final product. Include iteration and enhancement in your backlog or your roadmap. This one is one you will hear bemoaned by teams who have suffered at poorly executed Agile releases. Trust me, take it from someone who knows. and performative agile. You'll have come across this. It's what I like to call the agile evangelists. It's things like using the agile lingo, stand-ups, backlogs, sprints, retros, without changing mindset or behaviours. You can avoid it by really focusing on the outcomes, not the ceremonies. They're not the most important bit. Skip the jargon. Talk about value, learning and adjusting. Train your teams not just on tools, but on why Agile works. You aren't working in an Agile mindset because you have a stand-up. It's only useful if it helps unblock people and surface real progress. Senior stakeholders in large or traditional organisations are used to long-range planning, fixed budgets and deliverables, waterfall approval gates, annual budgets agreed well in advance, and so forth. Agile can feel a bit threatening to that structure. So here's a way to sort of bring those people on board. Frame Agile as risk reduction through faster feedback. Use pilots to show early success. Share value stories, not just post-project, but in real time, and keep the terms familiar. Stage rollout or phased rollout instead of iteration. Adjustment over pivot. So, for example, you could say, rather than spend £200,000 up front, we'd like to test with a £10,000 pilot. If it delivers value, we can scale it. If not, we've saved ourselves £190,000. Easy to understand, speaks to the budgets, speaks to senior managers in language and terms that they get. Bring those stakeholders into demos as well. Help them to see real progress, not just to wait 18 months for a final report. It will really get them on side. Agile gives leaders more opportunities to see it, not fewer. So as I said, frame that Agile as risk reduction through faster feedback. It doesn't remove control, it increases responsiveness, transparency, and risk management. Because when you think about it, senior managers want confidence, and frequent delivery really shows visible progress. It demonstrates that to them and gives them that confidence. By bringing them into regular demos, making sure you've got good feedback loops and you're having retrospectives thinking about what you're delivering and how you're delivering it, that introduces an element of control that those senior stakeholders can really be part of. It gives value for money, and all of our senior stakeholders care about value for money. MVPs reduce waste. You can test a return on investment before some major spend, and it can help to mitigate risks. Iteration avoids those huge failures. You can learn early, you can fail small, and you can fail fast. And Agile really focuses on user need and outcomes, which are the things that are going to deliver value and benefit back to your organizations. How would you do it? How are you going to introduce sort of Agile practices within your organization? My advice is start small, but start smart. So use Agile tools in low risk areas. Position them as experiments, not whole-scale transformations. That sounds scary and disruptive, and believe me, no one wants to be transformed. Choose a pilot project with visible pain points and use Agile to fix them. And speak their language. Use terms like evidence-based decisions or control pilots. Really avoid saying things like, let's do a 2-week sprint with retros and a Kanban. They're not going to know what you're talking about. Try instead, let's test a small version with feedback so we don't invest too much up front. Really show your results early. So track those quick wins, capture them and share those results. Explain how you've really achieved those benefits, how you've made this move faster, and why using Agile has had an impact. Use real data to challenge those waterfall assumptions. Co-create the process, so bring those leaders into demo sessions and showcases and give the visibility and input, not just reports at the end. This diagram shows that Agile is a circular flow because Agile isn't linear, it is continuous. So we begin with a backlog, which is just a dynamic list of work. Think of it as your single source of truth for change tasks. Communications, training, tech changes, feedback activities. It helps us prioritise based on what delivers the value soonest rather than waiting for everything to be finished. Once the work is prioritised, you could use something like a Kanban board to make it visible. And you can do that physically if you all work in an office together. That's the way I started using them. And now, as more and more people are remote, you can use tools such as Miro or Trello. These are really powerful for teams who are spread across functions or locations. They let you track progress, you can spot those bottlenecks, and then that can help you get conversations going when something's stuck without having to do some escalation or some massive status report. From here, we define our work using user stories. So these are short, focused descriptions of what a person needs, what a user needs, and why they need it. It shifts us away from internal goals to external needs, like as a staff member, I want to understand the new system so I can do my job without disruption. And you can get really specific about what those user stories are actually requiring. After delivering any small piece, we'd hold a retrospective. And this is really a structured way to ask what went well, what didn't, and what we're going to do differently next time. This practice encourages continuous learning and builds psychological safety for teams to speak up and improve not only what they deliver, but the way they work together. Stand-ups or short daily or weekly check-ins can keep momentum high. They help teams stay aligned. You can uncover blockers really quickly, and you can make change work part of the daily conversation. Even 15 minutes can bring visibility and urgency to change efforts. Using personas and journey maps keep empathy at the centre of your planning. So these tools help us to understand different user groups, so what their needs are, their fears, their motivation, and map friction points in their experience. This is really powerful when planning communication, training, or support strategies. And then we deliver. Not in one big launch, but iteratively. We start small, release quickly, and learn from what happens. That might mean piloting a new process in one department, testing 2 formats of training, or gradually scaling a system rollout. And then there's the engine of Agile: build, test, learn, improve. And from there, we loop back into our backlog with new priorities, new user needs, or learnings from what we've just delivered. That's how Agile stays flexible, responsive, and user-centered. As a recap then, Agile is a flexible, iterative mindset. You can apply it to change initiatives, not just IT. Focus on early value, feedback loops, and building stakeholder trust. And senior buy-in comes from seeing results, not hearing the jargon. Thank you so much for attending today. I hope you've got something out of this session, and it really helps you to think about how you might be able to apply Agile practices and Agile mindset in your organisation and how your change practice might change. If you've got any questions or you want any further help, ways to contact me are down in the comments. Thank you.